Hello aspirants, and 2025 GS paper 1 is out, and if you compare from 2024 paper, the 2025 GS paper 1 seems to be very easy. There is no questions which the student would find it difficult to answer. Almost all the questions, they are very easy to answer. Like last year they had asked some of the questions like questions on twister or Aurora borealis. If we compare 2024 and 2025 in terms of difficulty level, 2025 definitely is much easier in comparison to this was of moderate difficulty level, because some of the questions which has come in 2024, the student might have found a bit difficult, though if they would have prepared well, even 2024 paper was comparatively easy. But then there were certain terms which the student might not have been that familiar, but this year there was no such kind of an abrupt term or something which is very technical. The questions were very general in nature and very much attemptable. All the 20 questions were very much attemptable. Like in 2024, I was talking about some questions like they asked on twister, Aurora australis and Aurora borealis. So these, though they would have studied in their geography, but they might have not revised so well, so they might have found these topics little difficult in 2024. And there was another question on demographic winter, which some student they might have found little difficult. But when we compare 2025 paper, none of the questions were difficult or out of the box. So when I have to talk about the distributions of marks, lot of question in terms of distributions of marks, subject wise. If I have to talk about the subject wise, history, geography, society. So if I have to talk about the distribution, 2024 or very precisely, let us talk about first 2025. So in 2025 questions, more question has come from geography. Maximum question has come from geography. 110 marks question. 110 marks question has come from geography. Then you have 65 marks from society. 65 marks from society and 75 marks from history. So if we have to compare from 2024, maximum question has come from society. 100 marks question. 100 marks question last year has come from society. 75 marks from geography and 60 marks has come from history. 60 marks has come from history. So when you see the distribution of marks subject wise, this year maximum question has come from geography. Good number of questions, around 9 questions. 9 questions has come from geography. Out of 20 question, 9 alone has come from geography. So good number of question has this year come from geography. When we look about the history, and if we have to distribute the marks, 3 questions has come from art and culture. 3 question from art and question. 3 question has come. 1, 2, 3. Continuously they had come from art and culture. Modern history, just 1 question on Jyotiba Phule. Post-independent history, they had asked 1 question on consolidation, question number that is 12. Then again from post-independent history you have the 1, and world history you have 13. So let's do it here. History, if I have to divide art and culture, 3 questions, post-independent history, modern history and world history. So from all these you have 1 question. Question number 11 it is of modern history, question number 12 it is of post-independent history, and question number 13 it is of world history. So we see 1 question, and the rest 3 questions coming from art and culture. So we have seen these many years that more weightage has been given to art and culture, and it is consistently they are continuing with this pattern. More weightage has been given to art and culture. If we compare in the similar manner 2024 for history, art and culture, there was again 3 questions. There was 3 questions last year also, were related to Pallavas, Cholas and Vedic period. And then modern history they had asked 1 question. Modern history there was 1 question last year. And world history they had asked 2 question. World history they had asked 2 question on industrial revolution and world war. There was no question from post-independent history last year, but this year they had asked 1 question from the post-independent history. So this is about the distribution of marks and the distributions of questions among various topic or various subject, right? So we have seen this year maximum question, 9 questions coming from geography, and then you have 6 questions, total 6 questions coming from history, and then rest you have 5 questions coming from society, 5 questions coming from society. So I hope you got a fair idea about the distributions of marks and distributions of topic from where the more number of question has come, and we have compared from 2024 just that you get an idea how whether the distribution is same or the distribution has varied. So we can say the distribution has varied, whereas last year more number of question has come from society around 100 marks. This year more question has come from geography around 110 marks. When we have to talk about history, last year it was 60 marks, this year it is 75 marks. And in terms of geography, last year it was 75 marks and this year it is 110 marks, right? So now let's look into the questions. I will briefly discuss about the question. We are not going into the details of the questions discussion and answer, but a brief idea what is the question and how we could have approached it. So as I have already mentioned, all the questions the student would find attemptable and easy, much easy than I would definitely say last year, because last year there were some questions the student would have found little difficult to answer those questions, but this way there was no questions which the student would have found difficult to answer. So see the first question, discuss the salient features of Harappan architecture. I guess very direct and very easy, extremely easy questions, very direct. So you have to talk about the Harappan architecture regarding their town planning, regarding the various architectural like you can talk about Mohenjo-daro, the Great Bath, the drainage system, those things you can talk about here. You can talk about the town planning, you can talk about the Great Bath, the granaries, you can talk about the drainage system. So these are the major aspects you can talk about in this question. Let's look into the second question. The second question, again, it's very easy, from the medieval history. Examine the main aspect of Akbar's religious syncretism. Now, this word you should understand. You should be able to understand the word, and I think one can understand it's very simple. Even if you analyze a little bit, you will be able to understand. It is talking about Akbar's inclusive religious policy. That is called syncretism. That is about here Sulah e Kul. You can peace to all, religious harmony, peace to all, religious harmony. And in this context, you can talk about his Din-e-Ilahi. You can also talk about his Ibadat Khana, where scholars from different religions they would come and they would discuss. So these all topic you can these all points you can talk about under this question. Examines Akbar's religious syncretism. That is about inclusive religious policy. It aims to bring religious harmony, peaceful coexistence, and that is what the India that is reflected in unity in diversity, and you can conclude with unity in diversity. This is how you can give the present context. So India was a diverse country since the time immemorial, and in the different era, in the ancient, or you can say the medieval and the modern period, there has always been the rulers, the ruling class, they have always been tried to bring unity and peaceful coexistence. That was also reflected during the medieval period, particularly during the period of Akbar. And he also abolished jizya. So it is more about secularism and all. That is also reflected in the Indian Constitution. You can add little about the features of Indian Constitution. Secularism, Sarv Dharma Sambhav, those kind of things if you add to it, your answers will be more enriched. Sarv Dharma Sambhav, unity and diversity, and some the provisions of the Constitution if you add, you can write a really good answer. I hope you are getting the clarity. Then the next question you can see, the sculptors filled with Chandela art form with resilient vigor and breadth of life. Elucidate. Now Chandela, I think all of you must be knowing. It's very famous for the Khajuraho temples. The architecture of Khajuraho temple, and then you can talk about their rule, during their rule and their period when the Khajuraho temple was built, and you can talk about the architectural and sculptural artistic, the excellence And why Khajuraho temple is very, very famous? Because of the sculptures, the engravings, the erotic nature of the carvings, and not only erotic nature, but also it depicts not only the godly figures, but also it depicts the way the society was, the relations between man and woman. So it gives a more a kind of, it talks more about the society as a whole, not only about the religious aspect, but also the various societal aspects. So that is what the speciality of Khajuraho temple, and that is what the speciality of Chandela art forms. And you can also talk about that, emphasizing that it has been brought under UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is how I think you can write a very good answer on Chandela art forms. So if you remember that Khajuraho temple and all, and the significance of the sculpture and the artistic carvings at Khajuraho, you can write a very good answer. Let's move on to next topic or next question. Fourth number. How are the climate change and sea level rise affecting the very existence of many island nations? Discuss with example. Now, I think this question is extremely easy. Extremely easy. Anybody can answer these questions. Very simple, very direct, and very easy. So, you can talk about the issue of climate change and how it is impacting the small island nation, particularly the Maldives, and there are so many islands in the Pacific region, how it's going to impact, because even if there is a 1 degree change in temperature, how it's going to increase the sea level, the melting of the glaciers, the melting of the icebergs, and it is going to increase the sea level, and that thereby threatening the low-lying island countries. And in that you can give the examples of Maldives in the Indian Ocean. You can also give the examples of some islands in the Pacific, and you can also talk little bit about though the question is particularly about the island nation, little bit you can talk about the India context also, because we have a huge sea coast, right? We have a huge sea coast, so that could also become endangered because of the rising sea level. And you can talk about the various facts of UNFCCC. You can quote the various facts of UNFCCC, the Paris Agreement and all, and this is how you can conclude your answer. The next question is, what are the non-farm primary activity? The question is about non-farm primary activities. How are these activities related to physiographic features in India? Discuss with suitable example. Now this question little, though it is easy, I think people will be able to write the answer. So we have to also relate with the physiographic feature, not only non-farm. First of all, what are the non-farm primary activity? You should first of all understand what is primary. You can define the primary activities, and then they are asking non-farm. So in non-farm you have what? It can come forestry, animal husbandry, fisheries, mining. Even mining is a primary activities. And then you can talk about the physiographic features like forestry, where of course where the forest lands are there, where there are forest land, particularly the central India you can talk about Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and all, where forestry activity. Even the Himalayan region known for timber, pines and all regions. Then you can talk about animal husbandry. In that you can talk about the desert. In desert you can talk about camel. In the Himalayan region you can talk about domestication of yak. And then in the Indo-Gangetic region or the alluvial plain region, you can talk about the cattle rearing in the alluvial region where there is lot of grazings are available, right? So in that way you can relate. And then mining, you can write about mining, you can write about Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is rich in minerals, reserves and all. So there you can, in this way you can write a very beautiful and very relevant answer. I hope you got the clarity. First, you can start with defining what is primary activity, and then you distinguish between the farm and non-farm. So write about the non-farm primary activities, no need to distinguish as such, but just you have to mention what are the non-farm primary activities, and then you relate with the physiography like forestry, which area more or which physical features. And then you can talk about the animal husbandry, fisheries obviously, the coastal region, we have a huge coastal region, so there you can write. We have also inland fisheries, so rivers, ponds and all you can mention about. We have a blessed with huge numbers of rivers, large rivers, talk about that. And then coastal region, of course. For the mining, you can talk about the Chota Nagpur Plateau and all, and this is how you can substantiate your answer. The next question, I hope I am making sense. The next question, explain briefly the ecological and economic benefits of solar energy generation in India with suitable examples. Again, this question is also very, very easy because we have been giving a lot of focus to the renewable energy, particularly the solar energy, because in India there is an availability of solar energy, and that we need to tap it. And considering that the International Solar Alliance headquarters is also located in India, you can also talk about PM Kusum, some of the government schemes which is particularly meant for the giving more stress to the solar energy production. So various government schemes related to solar energy, giving more importance to solar energy, that is what you can write, because they have mentioned suitable examples. So question number, let's look question number 7. Again, very simple question, tsunami, and you just explain about what is tsunami, how it is being caused. So they have a different part of the question, each part of the question has to be addressed. What is tsunami, how and where are they formed, what are their consequences, and you give examples. So you can write about what is tsunami. It occurs in the oceanic region, and particularly the region could be underneath earthquake or volcanic eruptions or underneath landslides. So these are the various causes, and it results in huge mass of water traveling at a very, very high speed, and it could lead to very much devastation. Already we have an example, 2024, which has disrupted. There was a huge human life loss and property loss, as well as ecological loss. So that you can talk about how and where they are being formed, mostly in the, I just explained, underneath the ocean, and the various causes we have mentioned. What are the consequences? There is a huge destructions, both in terms of life loss and property, as well as ecological destructions, the coastal destructions, economic destruction, socio-economic, there is a huge impact on the socio-economic factor. And then you can quote example of 2004 tsunami. I think very easy and very simple, very direct question. The next question you see. Number 8. How does the smart city in India address the issue of urban poverty and distributive justice? So this question they have linked the smart city with the urban poverty and distributive justice. So we have to be very, very mindful that the question is not just about smart city per se, but how particularly it deals with the urban poverty and distributive justice. So you can talk about what is smart city, you can define about smart cities, and then you can talk about what is India's program on smart city, what it means. It means to create resilient infrastructure, isn't it? Really resilient infrastructure, technological governance or digital governance, giving boost to digital governance, technological governance. So it is an integration of technology, infrastructure, efficiency together to make the, and what it is meant for, to make the urban life, improving the standard of urban life, isn't it? So we have lot of issues in the urban life, issues of overcrowding, traffic congestions, poverty. So smart city is the solution to all these problems. And then particularly you have to talk about urban poverty, how it is going to reduce urban poverty or ameliorate the conditions of urban poor. So here you can talk about smart city talks about improving the infrastructure of the city, improving slums. So in this you can mention about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so that everybody should have a proper housings, there should not be slum development. Then providing the basic amenities, sanitation, water supply, because these are the issues which are majorly faced by the urban poor. Issues of sanitation, issues of or lack of water supply or lack of good quality water supply. So all these things are the majorly faced by whom? By the urban poor. And smart city, they are trying to provide solution to all these problems, right? They should have a good like housing problems, yes, through the PM Awas Yojana, and then the issues of sanitations, water supply, all will be taken. Affordable transportation, affordable transportation. So all these things is going to definitely make the urban poor life particularly more easy, and this is how it leads to distributive justice. Distributive justice, it leads to inclusive development. Because of all these features, it will lead to distributive justice and inclusive development. Moving on the next question. The ethos of civil service in India stands for the combination of professionalism with nationalistic consciousness. Now this question, some people they feel that this was more an apt question for GS paper 4, but nowadays sometimes they are giving the question of GS paper 3 in GS paper 1 also and GS paper 1 in 3 also. So it's absolutely okay, one can still answer. The ethos of civil service in India stand for the combination of professionalism and nationalistic consciousness. Then you have to talk about what is professionalism and what is nationalistic consciousness, and why it is even more important for an civil servant, because the work they do, the nature of their work and their impact on the society is tremendously high. Therefore, they have to be very, very professional in their outlook, and also they should have a nationalistic consciousness. Why? Again, because the nature of the work, they help in nation building. They in fact, their role Their role in nation building is very, very high. So that's why they must align with the constitutional objectives. They must align with their behavior, their thought must align with the constitutional objectives of bringing justice, equality, fostering fraternity. So that's extremely important, that there should be their behavior and their thought both should align, and it should align with what? Constitutional objectives. Now professionalism, that's very important to increase the efficiency in civil service. So they should have a professional outlook. They should have a, in that you can mention about maintaining neutrality, integrity, accountability, transparency in the work. All these things you can mention, which is extremely important, so that they can function in a professional manner. And all this together, you can write a very good answer. The next question, do you think that globalization results in only aggressive consumer culture? Justify your answer. Now, on the face of it, it looks, yes, certainly that globalization has increased consumerism, isn't it? But doesn't mean that it has resulted only consumerism. There is no other benefit of globalization except increasing consumerism. There is a lot of diverse factors, and there are a lot of diverse issues related with globalization. One among the major issue is that it has increased consumption. It has increased materialistic aspect, and in that you can talk about fast fashion. People are moving towards fast fashion, fast food. Many Western brands in terms of clothing, in terms of food, like McD, Domino's, in terms of music, in terms of dance. So it has definitely increased consumption, but at the same time, globalization has other benefit, or you can say there is other way to look globalization also. It has increased cultural exchanges. So if the Asian country, they are adopting the Western culture, even the Western countries, they are also appreciating the Asian culture. They are adopting, like for example, yoga, you can talk about the Indian handicrafts and all. They are getting quite popularity in the Western nation. So in that way, that it has increased in the cultural exchanges also, that also we need to talk about, right? So yes, you have to talk about that it has resulted in aggressive consumption in terms of food, in terms of clothing, in terms of the various other aspects you can talk about. At the same time, you should also talk about that it has also resulted in cultural exchanges. Now the people from each other country, they know better than the earlier days, and in that you can give some examples. I hope you got the meaning of the question and the explanation made some sense. Let's look into the next question. Mahatma Jyotirao Phule's writing and efforts on social reforms touched issues of almost all subaltern classes. So yes, all subaltern classes you have to write about. So you talk about Mahatma Phule. his contributions. And so he was 19th century social reformers from Maharashtra, isn't it? And then you talk about his work, about the Gulamgiri, and he attacked Brahminical orthodoxy. He has relentlessly worked for the disadvantaged section of the society, and in that not only women or scheduled caste, but for everyone, you know, scheduled caste, women, minorities, OBC. So he has worked for the various section among the disadvantaged section. And then you talk about his along with his wife Savitri Phule, he worked for women education. It was the first school to be set up in Pune, the girls school. And then you also talk about his Satya Sodhak Samaj for the upliftment of the downtrodden. So that is how you can write a very good answer on Mahatma Phule. The next question number 12, trace India's consolidation process during early phase of independence in terms of polity, economy, education and international relations. So you have to write on all these aspects. It's a 250 word answer. So you can just write just after independence, how we started, and the first problem was of course political, and in that you can write about the consolidation of the princely states, consolidation of the princely states, and in that you can talk about the contribution of Sardar Patel. And then in terms of economy, we adopted mixed economy, giving commanding role to the public sector units, establishing socialistic pattern of society. Aim was to socialistic pattern of society. So that is how you write about the economy. And then in terms of education, you can talk about the establishment of these high profile institution, what we see as an IIT, IIMs and all. It was established during this establishment of IITs, then AIMS, Delhi, UGC, University Grant Commission, all these things you can talk. ISRO for research and development, all these things you can talk about in terms of education and research. Then international relation. In the international relation, you can talk about non-alignment. We adopted non-alignment in the period of Cold War, and then we also adopted the punch shield, peaceful coexistence with our neighbor. So that is how on all this topic we have points, right? And I think it's very simple, very easy and very direct question. Very simple, easy to write. Next question. From world history, French Revolution. Again, this is also, I can say it's very direct and easy question. So all the question, I must say that this year, that's very easy and people should score well. French Revolution, enduring relevance to the contemporary world. So talk about French Revolution, 1789, and you know, why it had happened, why it started. So it was against the monarchy, feudalism, inequality in the society, right? So against these norms, the French revolutions came into being, and what it established? It established democracy, secularism. It emphasized on liberty, equality and fraternity, which inspired many countries, and even India you can talk about. In the preamble we have this, we adopted liberty, equality, fraternity from the French Revolution. That is how in the contemporary world it has inspired democracy, secularism. All these things has been inspired from French Revolution. Human rights and dignity of individual. So all these things the French Revolution has inspired. Then next question, give a geographical explanation of the distribution of offshore oil and of the world, offshore. Give a geographical explanation of the distribution of offshore oil reserves of the world. How are they different from onshore occurrences of the oil reserves? Again, I think very simple, very direct question. So offshore oil and onshore oil. First of all, they had asked the world distribution. So you can talk about where in the UK Denmark region, North Sea you can talk about. You can talk about Persian Gulf. It is a rich source of oil reserve. And then you can talk about Mexico, Gulf of Mexico Gulf. Then in India you can talk about Bombay High. You can talk about South China Sea. So this is how the world distribution you can talk about. Krishna and Godavari region in India also. Krishna and Godavari region also. We have been finding the oil resources. So this is about the world distributions, and particularly you can talk about from the geographical aspect the continental shelf, where there is availability of oil resources and all. And then you talk about how the second part of the question talking about how they are different from onshore. So offshore and onshore. Here you can talk about that land where the oil reserves are available on land. So we have in India you can talk about Assam region and all, Digboi region, and then you can talk about in the world you can talk about, of course, the Gulf countries. They have a huge reserve on land. And then you can talk about they are asking how are they different from onshore occurrences of oil reserves. And then you talk about how it is different, like drilling in the offshore and drilling in the onshore, how it is different, which is more difficult, which is more easy. In that way you can write a good answer on this question as well. Let's see this question number 15. How can artificial intelligence and drones be effectively used along with GIS and RS techniques in locational and aerial planning? Now they are not given the full form GIS and RS technique, but then if you little bit give stress, you will come to know it is about the geographical information system and also about the remote sensing. It is about the remote sensing. So whatever you have an idea regarding the remote sensing and how does it helps in aerial and locational planning, various location urban planning, agriculture, in the field of agriculture, weather forecasting, all these things you can write. That is how you can write. So it is not a difficult, don't think that is it a very difficult answer questions or so. So similar what question you write about the remote sensing and satellite, the use of satellite for remote sensing and all. So basically though that is what the question is all about. GPS, GPS, you can write about GPS, and then urban planning, agriculture, in the field of agriculture, then in the field of early warning in the weather forecasting and all. This is how you can write or approach this question. The next question, discuss how the changes, question number 16. Discuss how the changes in shapes and size of continents and ocean basins of the planet takes place due to tectonic movements of the crustal masses. So here you have to talk basically about the plate tectonics, and you can talk about the various aspects of plate tectonic, divergent, convergent, and transform reason, and then you can talk about that it is because of the tectonic movement only the shape and size of the ocean and the land mass has been changing, right? In that way you can explain. I think again it's a very direct and very easy questions, very simple, very direct and very easy questions. So you have to talk about the plate tectonics, continental drift theory, little bit you can add it, and this is how you can write. The next question is about discuss the distribution and density of population in the Ganga river basin with special reference to land, soil, water resources. Again, this question is also very easy, and these are questions are recurring. If you see 2025 paper, they had asked the question which some way it has recurred earlier. Similar kind of question has been asked earlier. Like last year only they had asked regarding this Ganga river basin. In 2024 also they had asked questions related to Ganga river basin. And this year also they had asked in terms of land, soil and water resources. Of course, this reason is and it is related with the density of population. So why the alluvial region or why the Ganga basin region is highly dense? Because of the soil. It's fertile soil, alluvial soil, which supports a good agriculture, bumper agriculture. We have a huge number of water resources, a good number rivers, Ganga and its tributaries, so the water resources, which is again very much important for the agriculture and all. And the soil is fertile, soil is alluvial, fertile, and it has resulted in huge or agricultural development. When you say the soil supports the bumper agriculture, which has resulted in the increasing the density of population or more number of people settling in these region because of this reason. There's a good land which supports good agriculture, the soil is very fertile, so it is good for the primary particularly cultivations, agricultural and all. And then water resources, again it relates with your agricultural development and also in all this it has resulted in a high food security, right? Food again is the most important factor, food and water, which is a very important factor for the survival of human beings, which is abundantly available in these regions. Food and water both are very, so water security, food security, that is what resulted in. And then you can talk about the Bihar, West Bengal, they are one among the highly or most densely populated state, right? Bihar, West Bengal, they are highly or most densely populated state. I hope you got the clarity. It's again very simple and easy question. Question number 18. How do you account for the growing fast food industries given there are increased health concern in the modern society? And particularly it has to be explained in the terms of Indian experience. Again, I think you can very much relate with the questions with the fast food industries, burger, pizza, McD, Domino's and all, and particularly with this your Zomato, Swiggy, all this has in fact increased the consumption of fast food. The reason being again the India is moving towards modernity, we can say, or fast life, uh, nuclear family, fast life. Women are also, particularly in the cities, they are also in jobs and all, they have less of time for the cooking and all. So that's why they are moving towards this kind of fast food, and Zomato and Swiggy have further intensified the consumption of fast food. So this is how I think you can write a decent and good answer. Of course, there are health concerns, but now people are prioritizing test, affordability, and easy, right? Easily you get the meal because of lack of time, whatever, because of lack of time or so, and nuclear family. Now this culture has been getting more popularization. Now then health concern, of course there are health concern, and of course we are adapting also. The fast food industry, they are adapting to the health concerns, and now you can see the pizza, become millet burgers, millet pizzas, right, or millet pastas. So this is how we are trying to morph it so that we get the fast food, but at the same time the health concerns are also addressed. So reason you must, but what is the long term solution? So one of the solution you can definitely write about the fast food, which is loaded with high sugar, fats and all, which are of high health concerns, and slowly these food industries, they are trying to adopt healthy alternatives like millet burger, millet pizzas and all you can talk about. And you can also talk about the traditional aspect of cooking should also come back, and health should be given priority. In that way you can, so one, the food industry itself can provide an alternative healthy foods. Secondly, the traditional home cooked meal, the culture or system should again come back, priority should be given to that. So in that way, both way you can write recent and answer. Next question, number 19. Achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict with poor people need in a country like India. So here the question is about environmental protection that is required for sustainable growth. At the same time, does it align with the need of the poor? So both has to be balanced, because poor people, particularly if you have to see poor people, they use mostly wood fuel also, which may results in cutting down of the forest and leads to more greenhouse gas, because they can't afford clean cooking, right? So that you can mention about, and then you can talk about also mining and all is important, right? Mining and all is very, very important because it provides employment opportunity, and it is also important for the development, and at the same time it also create pollution problem. So where mining is important for employment, for the development, but on the other way it also create a pollution problem. So that is what the question is all about, that achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict. So if we go for more environmental protection, we may jeopardize the developmental aspect, we may jeopardize particularly the benefits that should reach to the poor people in terms of employment and livelihood issue, isn't it? Because the mining provides a lot of employment opportunities, and but if mining is banned, then people might lead to okay fine, the pollution would be controlled, but what about the employment, what about the development, what about the development of the region, what about providing livelihood to the people? So both has to be balanced, right? Both has to be that can come into conflict of the poor people's need. So that doesn't mean that we should go for a mining that creates pollution. So what is the alternative? What is the solution? Mining should go hand in hand with environmental protection. We have to balance. We have to come up with the technology that the mining would not lead to pollution, or it would lead to reduction of pollution, at the same time protecting the employment opportunity and livelihood of the people, and also not at the cost of development, So that is how you have to talk about the funds and technology transfer. That is what we are seeking from the developed country. So in that way you can write the solution. Yes, there is a problem, but then there is also a solution, and we should talk more about the solution. The last question, does the tribal development in India center around two axes, those of displacement and of rehabilitation? Give your opinion. So this, you talk about the tribal development in India, and that has resulted in displacement. Of course, this has resulted in displacement, and there is an issue of rehabilitation. In this you can talk about the large projects like Sardar Sarovar projects, or major dams or minings that results in displacement of the tribal people, taking away their livelihood, and also severing them from their community life, right? The place they were used to live, they have to leave that place. Their livelihood issues might get compromised, they may not get fair compensation also. So issues of rehabilitation again, because whenever the tribals are displaced, they have to be provided with the same kind of benefit. They have to be rehabilitated, right? They have to be given adequate employment opportunities. Their livelihood must be protected. Their community rights must be protected, isn't it? So if they are displaced, first of all, the displacement should be minimal. Only in the rarest of the rare case it should be there. Secondly, if they have to be displaced in the name of development, because development is also very important, the rehabilitation has to be proper, providing adequate compensation, securing their livelihood opportunities, protecting their community rights. So that is what the problem is with the rehabilitation, because they don't get proper rehabilitation. There is no fair compensation. There is no protection of their livelihood or community rights. That is what the problems is. And then we can focus upon here, and in this you can talk about the role of PESA, Forest Rights Acts, all these things you can talk about, and which will be helpful for rehabilitating the displaced tribal people. I hope with this we have we have discussed all the 20 questions. I have not gone into very detail, but then just provide an overview that this is how the questions could be approached, and all the questions, if we have to see, of 2025 Mains GS Paper 1, is very easy, I would say, and if we compare from 2024, certainly it is very, very easy. By any standard, the paper is very easy. I hope these sessions you found useful, and we'll come up with also discussion on GS paper 2, GS paper 3 and 4, and this is how we'll move forward. Thank you, all the very best.